Good morning. It's Sunday, March 10th, 2019. This is Bertie Lavorne and the Faith Leap podcast. I think I'm slightly figuring out my microphone, and if I stay a little further back, it will sound better. But we'll see. I have tested it a bit. So, today we had daylight savings time, so everyone's pretty slow to start. It's quiet. The snow is still melting. And I have a delicious cup of coffee. Just sitting here in my Christmas light lit room. It's comforting, cozy, a little bit of rain. But where I want to go, and I know that these podcasts have been fractured, and I'm going to go a little bit gentle on myself because I'm really just trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out how I do audio documentary, an audible documentary on the things that just kind of like roll around in my head. But today I want to talk about something that's very close to me, and that's near-death experiences. And I'll share a personal account simply because I want it recorded if my grandchildren or my great-grandchildren listen to this. But I'm finding that everything is connected. I'm finding that with all of the dark drudgery on my daily research of trying to save the world in my own little pocket, my love for listening to near-death experience, what would you call it, accounts, always seem to bubble up and take precedence. But so the death of my mother, and I talk about this all the time, or I feel like I do, but I just want to kind of throw some things out there just as to what made me kind of shake my faith, because I was a anti-religion, anti-churchgoer. I rejected most everyone who lived by the church. And on a side note there, I was listening to an Ian's cast the other night, and I realized what church is all about. It came to me in such a glorious picture. And it was the new president of Ian's was talking about his experience with his brother committing suicide. And they lived in a very small town in Pennsylvania. And they went to a clapboard 20-seater church. Very small community, very small church. And his brother had committed suicide with a shotgun. And what he said kind of wrapped up what church is for me. And I think we use the word church in a wrong way because it's community. But when his brother had committed suicide in his bedroom, all the members of the church came and cleaned up the bedroom. They scrubbed the walls, put a picture over where a hole was in the wall, and they made the room inhabitable for, not really inhabitable, but less chaotic by cleaning up the mess that this boy had created with his suicide. The church people came together and took care of that for that family. And that is community. Now, that's extreme, but that's community. So I'm going to just consider church community. And so I'll get into kind of what I saw with my mom's passing, because it was the only real passing that I can share where I got some tangible witnessing. And my mother had passed away 13 years ago of cancer, and she was very, very sick and hallucinogenic in her babble. But there were little gleams and glimmers of truth that came out of her while she was in this altered state of transitioning. And one day she woke up and she said, "The colors are beyond words. The colors it's colors I've never seen and I cannot put a name to." And I was running in this garden, and I was with what would be my niece, or her granddaughter, and they were frolicking, and it was beautiful, and it was just simply magic. Now, a lot of people would say that's because of the drugs, but after listening to all of the near-death experiences that I've listened to over the last decade, that seems to be like a resounding statement that comes out of a lot of people who go through and come back, go through the other side and come back. Now, my mother, of course, didn't come back, but she was lucid enough to tell us about the colors. So with a lot of these other stories, it seems like most people talk about these colors that are far beyond our spectrum and that don't have names. And they're so, colors blend with music, and it's almost like musical notes have colors attached to them that they've never seen. So I found that, one of those points that just keep reoccurring in my studies of near-death experiences. And another thing about my mother's death was, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. We had been sitting with her for about 4 months. We were all exhausted, me and my sisters, and so we knew that the time was coming, just from the hospice workers telling us, it could be any minute, any day. And we decided, me and a couple of my daughter and another friend decided just to go out and get some Thai food, try to make it a little bit of a normal Saturday night, as normal as it could be. And halfway to the Thai restaurant, my daughter she grabbed her heart and she was like, "Oh dear, something's happened." And shortly thereafter, my phone rang and they said, that my mother had passed away. Or, yeah, she had passed away. And so we turned around and we jetted back the 5 minutes back to the house. And when we went to her, she was laying in her hospital bed in her bedroom. And I'm curious. I'm saddened. I'm relieved. But I'm very curious too, because I sat there and I watched this corpse of my mom. She had wrinkles, of course, on her face. She was in her 70s. And they were all disappearing before my eyes. These wrinkles were simply vanishing right before my very eyes. And I thought, wow, what's up with that? So, to watch something like that, someone who had been so incredibly sick and whose body had broken down completely, her face became almost like a beam of light and just beautiful, just milky beautiful. That was comforting. That was very comforting to me. So I I think there's something really to this. And I'm going to keep digging. And maybe this podcast will go more over to a we don't die kind of platform. Our soul lives on. I'm not quite sure, but it's the thing that sparks the most joy in me. I hope you enjoyed my little rant on this Sunday morning. Many loves, many blessings, all good stuff out to you. Bye.